And it says it's linked.
There.
Hello? Hello? Yeah, that's you.
So we
I'm
just
sorry,
pass it
there's
back.
just one mic.
That's fine.
You can talk loudly and we'll pick up both of them more than we pick up everything else. That's good.
It's okay, we'll pass it.
We'll pass it.
That's all.
All right.
Let's do one side together at the beginning,
Okay.
since we're right here.
Oh gosh, more people coming in.
Wow. All right, just go inside. Alex, can we start, or do you want to?
And I do want to very much thank our Impact team and teacher who is giving us his one free night this week, donating it. Very kind of him, and the students who are seniors who wanted to be here anyway, but they're doing double duty. So we appreciate that. All right.
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Mr. Gomez. I'm the College and Career Counselor here at Indio High School.
I'm Miss Douglas. I'm an 11th and 12th grade counselor for Garza through Padilla. So if you're not aware, if you've had numerous students here or you're used to seeing certain faces, we did change our caseloads this year. So instead of having 5 counselors do a chunk of the alphabet for all grades, we have 3 counselors doing 11th and 12th and 2 counselors doing 9th and 10th. And then we divide it by alpha. And that allows us to specialize and focus a little bit more and frankly not be chickens with our heads cut off like we have been for the last few years as our population continues to grow and grow. We're the only high school that's growing in the district because everybody wants to be here. So we are at 2,100, which kind of blows my mind. When I was a graduate here, there were 1,600 of us, and that felt huge. So yeah, 2,100. It's a small town. So yeah, but welcome. Okay, I don't need you. So thank you so much for coming. I want to say it's so awesome to see so many faces. Like after the last 3 years of doing this stuff digitally, and last year wasn't digital, but it was not greatly attended because everyone was still kind of afraid, right? So I love to see everyone here. It's so exciting to be able to do this stuff again. So thank you so much for coming and taking that time and giving that time to your students' future. We're so excited to be partners with you in this process. So tonight, we're going to talk about a number of things. We're going to talk about what should be your students' priorities right now. What should they be focusing on? We're going to talk about searching for colleges and making that final list of where are the applications going. Because we'll be honest, and we started having these conversations with the students, the vast majority of our students do qualify for fee waivers, but you get 4 for each system, right? So my conversation with my students is always, I want you to be picky so you're not wasting that free one. And then if unfortunately you don't qualify for fee waivers, and we'll talk about that further in the presentation, college applications are expensive, right? So again, we need to be picky so that we're not, throwing good money after bad, right? So we're not wasting money on applications. We want to make sure we're making smart choices with where we're sending our applications. We're going to talk about admission requirements. We'll talk about recommendations, important dates, and then also probably everyone's really big question, we'll talk about financial aid.
So just a quick few announcements. We have some big events happening. One of them is Senior College Kickoff. So every year, the Riverside County, like all the schools within Riverside County, have this huge celebration called College Kickoff, where we celebrate students who are thinking about going to college, whether if it's a community college or a trade school or a four-year university, regardless, we just want to celebrate them, right? And so this year, like we do every year, because it's at the beginning of the year and it's the height of admission season for the universities, we focus a lot on that. So we're going to be doing Cal State applications during one of the periods on October 13th. We're going to be doing UC applications as well for one of those periods. And the other period, we're going to be focusing on the Fafsa or the California DREAM Act for those of the students who are undocumented. And so those are the 3 main workshops that we're going to be holding on October 13th. All the seniors, the ones who qualify to get into a Cal State or to apply to a UC, You're all invited to that, and every senior, regardless of what your status is, you're going to be able to attend the Fafsa California Dream Act workshop, okay?
And so students do need to sign up though, right? Because we have to prepare outlists so that the student absence from the classes is excused.
Yeah, the students will be excused from those periods for that day.
Already know that this is coming.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they need to sign up.
Yeah.
Well in advance, hopefully. And this is all in the Google Classroom that we'll keep referring to, and hopefully they are all signed up for it. But all these announcements come out, and they hear all of this.
And then this is just a tutoring resource. This is an online tutoring. It's called Fev Tutor. A lot of students or a lot of parents don't actually know about this, but this is it's online. You can actually make an appointment with somebody online for students who need work in math and English. I mean, they cover pretty much, and social studies subjects, right? And so it's a great, yes, and it's free for every single student. Every single student at Desert Sands Unified, all they have to do is just log in with their MyDS email, and boom, there you go.
And it's a resource that doesn't get used as often as I wish that it would. It's an actual person that you meet with. It's not like, I feel like when I was a teacher, I would say, oh, go to Khan Academy, which is all sort of self-paced learning. This is an actual person that you make an appointment with who sits there and tutors you. So often we have kids come into the office and they're like, I want out of this class, it's too hard, but they've never asked for help. They've never gotten tutoring, right? So this is a resource to help them get through these tough classes.
The next one is some more resources that I provide, more workshops that I provide. On the left-hand side are workshops that I hold every single day from October to November. Every single day I hold a workshop at the Career Center. One of those days, on Mondays, I dedicate them to the Common Application. Common Application is for those of you who are thinking about applying to a private university, maybe in-state or out-of-state, right? And it's usually on the first and last period of the day. Those are the workshops, okay? Tuesdays, I do the Cal State workshops. Wednesdays, I do Dream Act workshops. Thursdays, I do UC applications, and FAFSA Friday, right? And so for those of you who want to attend those workshops, all you have to do is just get a pass from your teacher. You have to have a pass from your teacher to be excused from class to come to one of those workshops, okay? As long as you have a pass, you're good to go. But if you don't have a pass, you have to go back to class, all right? The next one is the college fair. Some of you saw the flyer right there for the college fair. It's free for everybody. You can bring your whole entire family. It's over at the Agua Caliente Resort. You can just park over there. Parking is free and everything. If you want to go on your own, you're more than welcome to go on your own. You don't need a permission slip. However, if you don't have a ride, maybe your parents are working that day, maybe for some reason you can't find transportation, we are going to have a bus here that leaves at 4:30. If you need one at the end, you can come grab a permission slip just for the students. Only for those who don't have a ride, okay? So if you need a ride and you want to take the bus with us on that day, which is October 6th, then you're more than welcome to join us, okay?
I'm passing out the flyers, so if you just take them and pass them down, that would be great.
All right.
You already got them?
So I'm going to be moving on to senior year priorities, right? And so this right here is really important for what we should be doing during your senior year, right? Obviously, the number one thing is your grades, right? You have to maintain your grades, not just to get into colleges, but you need to graduate too, right? And senioritis, any of the seniors, have you heard of senioritis? And it's a real thing, right? Every single year, we have students who struggle during their senior year, every single year. And that's because you just want to relax and it's chill and it's your last year of high school and I'm going to go to college and blah, 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 blah. But then there's situations sometimes where students run the risk of not being able to go to college because they get a D in their English class, which we had last year, because they get a C in the math class, or I'm sorry, a D in the math class that they need, right? And so we want to make sure that you finish strong and that you pass all your classes at least with a C and above, right? C and above, if you're trying to get into a four-year university, okay? Extracurricular activities. So obviously, this would probably be a better idea, like starting from your freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, to do some extracurricular activities. But it's not too late right now. It's still a possibility to do extracurricular activities as a senior. Clubs are still allowing people to join. A lot of clubs are still allowing people to join. Sports are still available for a lot of, the upcoming winter and spring sports are still available for you, right? do something. Do something that you've never done before. And if you do something early, you can add that into your college applications. If you're planning on applying to a Cal State or a UC or a private university, you can still add those things into your college application. Okay? Visiting colleges. So if you're able to visit some colleges, we know some parents don't have the means to drive far away. There aren't very many colleges around this area. If you parents do have the means to go to a college, by all means, do your best to try to go out on a weekend and drive over to Cal State LA, drive over to Cal State Dominguez Hills, Cal State Long Beach, San Diego State, UC San Diego, if you can, right? If you can. It's always best to, because you were trying to figure out what school it is that you want to go to. And a lot of them, the majority of our students don't want to go too far away. They want to stay in the local area. They want to go either somewhere here, San Diego, or the LA area, right? And this is your opportunity right now at the beginning of the year to go and visit those colleges. And a lot of them will actually give you a college tour for free. All you have to do is just call up the admissions office and say, hey, I want to come by on this Saturday. Is there anybody that can help us get a tour? Yes. And they'll actually help you out too. Okay?
And even if that's not available, there's often like online guides where you can do your own sort of self-paced walking tour, and you can give yourself a tour.
All right, exploring majors. Okay, do you want to touch on this?
Sure. There you go. So this is actually a new addition to the week. And what we were told was roughly 70% of applicants are applying to the same 10 majors. And that is problematic when it comes to some of the campuses cap those majors, right? There's only a certain amount of spots. But the other problem too is that it feels like students are still sticking with like what was in the Little Fingers puzzle from kindergarten, like doctor, lawyer, police officer, teacher, nurse, right? And so it's the same, and then psychology got in there somewhere. That one's real popular. So it's the same 10 majors at most schools. And the thing is, like, every time we go to that conference, we all sit there and go, I want to go back to college, because there's these amazing majors that sound so fun and interesting that are adapting to the world that we live in. So, like, yeah, you can go and apply as a psychology major, or you can apply as a public health major who specializes in groupthink psychology, right? To understand why people behave the way they do on the internet, or why they behave the way they do in groups, right? Which is clearly something we need to understand, the humans around us who make choices about our lives. So we're trying, in our one-on-one meetings that we're having with students right now, we're trying to really encourage them to look at different majors. And here's the truth of the issue. Unless your student wants to study something very, very specific, most majors are offered at most colleges, right? So it really comes down to where do you want to live, because that's important. I've seen so many students who their whole life it was UCLA, UCLA, UCLA. That is it. UCLA is it for me. And then they get there and they realize that going to UCLA means you're living in LA, right? Which is a lot. For me, I didn't even apply to UCLA because I know I don't like Los Angeles. I do not like it. I've never liked it. So I didn't even apply. Where you're going to college is where you're going to be for at least 4 years, but more likely closer to 5, 6, or 7, because most people stick around in the city that they went to college in for a couple of years at least after college. So it's important that you're finding a school that's in a place you want to live. So I've been showing the students how to look at the maps. Look at the maps of where the colleges are. So the Cal State makes this really easy. They have a map on their website and it shows you. And I tell them the example, maybe you have an aunt who will let you live with her in LA for college so you can live rent free, which would be really nice. Well, there's like 5 different Cal States all within an 80-mile radius of Los Angeles. Or maybe you want to get as far away from Indio as you possibly can. I like to show them where Humboldt is on the map because everyone thinks San Francisco is Northern California. It is not. That is just the middle. Humboldt's at the top. So so I show them that and how you can click on that school and then just go to their lists of majors. Just scroll through them alphabetically and see what's there. Because when you click on it, it takes you to the catalog page that shows you what are the classes you're going to take, what are the electives you will need for that major, what are the career paths available. I'm one of those people, I changed my major in college a bunch of times. What I applied for is not what I was accepted for. It's not what I started in my freshman year, and it's not what I got my degree in. So I went from like journalism to pre-law to art history to linguistics. And the bottom line is that, again, unless you're going to do something very, very specific, you need a degree to teach you 4 really important things: reading, writing, researching, and representing, right? Speaking your truth, writing your truth, arguing your truth. Most degrees are going to teach you those skills, right? And then some of them will have a little bit of organic chemistry sprinkled in. So it's more important for where is the school, where do you want to go? That's kind of what we're trying to tell the kids. And to look at the different majors, because there's so many cool and interesting things that you could go and study and have it be something that you're passionate about instead of like the thing you think you're supposed to do. Does that make sense? I hope so. And then FAFSA and scholarships. You want to talk? Yeah?
We'll touch on that.
Yeah, we're going to get back to FAFSA and scholarships in a bit. So these are the main things we're focusing on tonight. So that's kind of what I was just talking about. You need to pick a college, a university that you will continue going to, right? Students often ask, what's the right college for me? Or what's the best major? It's the one you'll finish, right? It's the one you'll finish. And that so often means, are you happy in the place that you're in? Are you happy in the city? Are there cultural opportunities at your university? Are there clubs? Are there sports? Is there a religious affiliation that you need? Is there a supportive community of like-minded people, right? If you feel like an outsider at the school you go to, you can't be happy. And so you won't be successful. And the key, and I know we're going to talk about this later on, everyone's afraid of student loan debt, right? Well, the thing that makes student loan debt really expensive is whether you finish your degree or not, you have to pay it back. So if you don't have the degree that gets you the job that pays you more money, you can't pay it back, right? And I speak from experience, student loan debt does not go away when you get a divorce or file for bankruptcy. So only one of those is my experience. So you have to look at all the different things. I talk about the size of the school, right? For me, when I went to college, I wanted to be at the biggest school I could possibly be at. I wanted to disappear. I went to UC San Diego. There's 32,000 people there, right? And that was what I wanted. I wanted a big, vibrant place because I came from Indio, which is a small town where everybody knows your business, right? I wanted to go where nobody knew my name, right? For a little while and get to reinvent myself. So size of school is really important.
We always have a lot of students that say, I want to go to a small school. Okay, where do you apply to? UCLA, UC San Diego, USC. And I'm like, what are you doing, homie?
Right.
Right?
If you want a small school, you can go to that ABC college that's in like Pomona that has 11 people in it. There you go. That's a small school. So you have to look at all these different things. So it's important, like right now, what your students should be doing is thinking about all these things. What's important to them? And that's the key point. What's important to them, not you as their parent, right? We have to encourage them to think about who they are as growing adults.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Pass the power.
All right, so most of you, I hope, the seniors, should have already started creating a college list, right? Just a couple of schools that you're really thinking about, right? And usually when they make a college list, you're always thinking about which one is the one that is my safe school, right? The one that based off of my GPA and my extracurricular activities and all that good stuff. And the admission rates for that school are, it's probably going to be safe that I might get in, right? It's not 100%. It's never 100% for a college or a university. It's never 100%, right? No guarantees. We, as counselors, can never guarantee that a student is going to get into a university, ever. But you can start off like you have a safety school, right? Then you have your fit schools. The fit schools are like based off of, again, your grades, your extracurricular activities, your GPA, all that good stuff. You have a good match of the schools based off of the admission rates and all that good stuff. And then you have your reach schools. The reach schools are by far the most difficult schools to get into. And that's everybody. I don't care if you're the #1 student on campus, UCLA is a reach school. USC is a reach school, right?
The #1 student at every high school is applying to UCLA.
Yes. And all the other students behind them are applying to UCLA, right? I think last year they had over 125,000 applicants or something like that. And 9% got in last year. Woo. 9 of those 125,000 students, right? And so we're not trying to crush students' dreams or anything like that, but we need you to be realistic and start thinking about other schools besides those dream schools. We want you to apply to your reach school, to that dream school. You have to apply. It's your dream, right?
Yep.
But
that's why people play the lottery.
yes.
But you don't quit your job the day you buy the lottery, right?
Right? So if you're applying to UCLA, you got to give me UC Riverside, right? You got to give me a safe school, okay? At least a safer school, right? So it's just about trying to find that balance, right? And if you need more of those questions answered as far as like reach school versus safety school or anything like that, the students can come to me or they can come to our counselors, and then we'll be able to kind of guide them, okay? Reach school, counselor, student, financial, yeah. Every school, just like she was talking about, every school is going to try to make a student happy. They provide, every school has so many services, so many programs available nowadays. That's one of the reasons why universities and colleges are expensive. It's because they're providing so many support programs for all our students. They have Hispanic serving institutions, LGBT, religious, like every aspect of a student's culture and life is being supported usually at a university, right?
But that's the kind of research that your student needs to do
Yes.
to make sure that those services are there and they make them happy, right?
Same thing financial. Obviously, the financial situation, the family's financial situation is obviously important, right? Not to say that it's not important. It's just, let's just rely entirely completely on student loans. No, obviously, family financials is very important to you, right? Represents collaboration between students, parents, and counselors. So again, this is a collaboration, right? It's not just like whatever my counselor says, that's where I'm going to go. Or whatever the student says, that's my ultimate decision, right? No. It's a collaboration between parents, the counselors, the educators, and the student, right?
Yeah, because I think something we experience often is parents who don't want their students to leave the valley, which I get it. I was last in my family. My mom didn't want to let me go. But you gotta let them go at some point, right? And so, and they're afraid about the big bad world, but this is how we grow as grown-ups and adults, is we do hard things, and we go out there and we learn to do them. So, it can't be the school you want them to go to. It has to be where they want to go to. But also, maybe you don't send them to Humboldt. You don't want them to disappear and never come back again, right? If for nothing else, because that's expensive, right? At that point, you only see your kid a couple times a year because maybe you can't get them back on a plane trip or whatever, right? So it's got to be a balance between all the things.
I pretty much already talked about that. Again, no guarantees, right? All right.
And this statement, things have changed quite a bit in the last few years. I do want to say that the things that have changed have greatly benefited Indio High School students. Where admission rates are going down across the state, our students are getting into more and more colleges. And a big part of that was getting rid of the SAT. Across the country, getting rid of the SAT test, which educators have known for a very long time is an unfair test, particularly to students of lower income families and students of color. It's an unfair test. Getting rid of it proved that point because they were like, African American attendance at colleges went up 400%. So and same thing with Latino students and Native students, all of those numbers are going up because that test was a gatekeeper, it was a boundary that unless you were white and middle class, you didn't know some of the cultural references. But it also means, I think, was it Davis? It was Davis at the at the conference. They said, so we sort of over-enrolled by 1,000 students last year. So we're going to be taking fewer students this year. right? So everyone's still, and then like the stuff that happened last year with both Berkeley and Santa Barbara, where the people who lived in those areas filed injunctions to not let students live in those neighborhoods anymore. So Berkeley had to rescind a whole bunch of acceptances. It was really terrible, actually. So things have changed. Sorry, Maldo. Things have changed quite a bit. In a lot of ways, our community has benefited quite a bit from those changes, which is good news. But again, we just want everyone to keep in mind, there's no guarantees to anything, right? So how do you search for a college? And these are the meetings that we're having with the students. Our best and greatest and most powerful tool is californiacolleges.edu. The students are familiar with that because they've been doing lessons on CCGI or California Colleges the first 2 days of school for the last 4 years. So they're familiar with that website. And for most of our students, their transcript is automatically at californiacolleges.edu. So it's really nice because it does the analysis of if they are A through G qualified. It tells them exactly what their UC GPA is going to be, because their UC GPA, their Cal State GPA, it's a little bit different than their regular transcript GPA because it counts different things. So it helps to do the math for us and for them. But it's kind of like Expedia for colleges. You know, when you open it up, it shows you all 352 colleges that are in California. But then you can put in all the filters. You can say, I just want to look at Cal States, or I just want to look at UCs, or I just want to look at schools with fewer than 5,000 students, or I only want to look at schools in rural areas. Like there's all these different filters that you can put on to look at these different things. So that is probably the best resource that there is. Big Future, excuse me, Big Future is part of College Board, the people who ran the SAT. So, you know, they have a vested interest in keeping you coming to their website, but it is a useful search engine. College Scorecard, actually I'm not super familiar with that one. I don't use that one that much. Do you use that? It's from the government, yeah, so it's kind of judging them, I assume, on their services.
Yeah, it gives you basic information on the admission rates and all that good stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because admission rates are very difficult to find on the school's websites. They don't actually want you to know that information. So these are the places you can go where it shows you that. California Colleges also does too. And then UVisit is a virtual touring site where you can tour the schools virtually. And it existed before the pandemic, but I think they beefed it up quite a bit during pandemic when nobody was doing tours. And it's fun. You have like a little avatar who walks around the colleges and sees all the things. So it's like a little video game.
And most of the campus websites actually do have their own virtual map.
Yeah.
So you can actually just go onto the campus website, do a little search on there, and you'll be able to find something similar to that.
All right. You got it?
Yeah. I'll start off with the other ones. It doesn't matter.
We're trading now.
Sure. All right. So these are the different types of colleges. So trade schools, technical schools, right? That's like something if you want to learn a specific trade. That's like, there's Milan Institute over here for cosmetology. There's UTI for auto, those types of schools, right? Community colleges, obviously. What's the nearest community college here? COD, College of the Desert, right? California State University, there's 23 different Cal States. The nearest one is Cal State San Bernardino. There's actually a campus right here, a satellite campus of Cal State San Bernardino Palm Desert campus. Later on, we can probably explain about how financially, for most of our students, it's the best college to go to financially, right? University of California, so those are all your UCs, UCLA, UC San Diego, UC Irvine, Santa Barbara. There's 9 different campuses. Religious colleges. So again, those are your universities focused on specifically, certain religious affiliations. Cal Baptist University, La Sierra University, University of San Diego is a Catholic university, right? Loyola Marymount Catholic University.
And I want to say this about religious schools and private schools. Private and religious schools are private schools. Private schools cost more money, but they have more money to give away. So it is worth paying attention to them and taking a look, particularly if your student does an activity that's very specific. So I had 3 students when I used to coach debate who got full rides to this teeny tiny little university up in Northern California. And I will tell you, we were not even that good of a team. Like, we made it to state finals every year, but we never made it out of round 1. But this college just liked debaters for some reason, and they got full rides. So it's worth looking at them. And then with the religious colleges, and I tell this to the students, there's different kinds of religious colleges, right? And you don't necessarily, depending on what your beliefs are, you don't necessarily want to be turned off or turned on by what they have to offer. Because as I tell the students, there's like the religious colleges where girls have to wear skirts and gentlemen can't wear t-shirts and all those kinds of things. And then there's like religion light where they're like, Jesus was a good guy and we should follow those rules, right? So it's important to understand that there's like differing levels of that, and depending on how important that is to you as a family and as a student, you want to take a look at what's offered at those different places.
And some of those institutions will actually require students to take theology lessons, right? Theology classes, or they may require them to go to church every Sunday or whatever day of the week that you go to church, right?
If that's something that you want,
yes.
the kind of colleges you want to look at.
Yes, and then there's other ones that don't require any of those things. Again, private colleges, private universities, that's your big ones, your most expensive ones, right? Stanford University, USC. I graduated from a private college, private university for my graduate degree, University of Laverne. That's one of them.
What's our closest one? Anybody know? I got a bulldog, yeah.
University of Redlands.
University of Redlands.
Yeah,
University of Redlands really likes kids from the Coachella Valley.
They provide a lot of financial aid for our students. If you have over a 3.5, they automatically give you $35,000. Boom, right off the bat, 3.5, right? So everyone's like, "Ooh, wow. 35 grand." All right, let's go to the next one. Oh, and out-of-state colleges too, out-of-state universities as well. You know, that's an option too. I would say that do we talk about out-of-state colleges later?
Not really.
No, so I'll just say it real quickly. The only drawback about an out-of-state school is, one, depending on the school, you will pay out-of-state tuition fees if you go out of state. Which usually means triple the amount of what a resident would normally pay at those schools. Additionally, you don't get as much financial aid. So here in the state of California, you're going to be getting 2 types of grants. One, if you qualify. One is a Pell Grant, the federal government, and that one you can use at any college in the United States, any college. The second one is a Cal Grant. That's from the state of California. But California is only going to give it to you if you stay here and go to school in the state of California. That's why you get a lot of tuition or a lot of grants to come to school here. So if you go to out-of-state school, you're not going to get that Cal Grant. Okay? Just keep that in mind.
However, if you're interested in going to school out of state, there is something called WUI, which is the Western University Exchange. And WUI is a consortium of schools that we treat each other like residents. So there's some schools in Arizona, Idaho, Colorado, Nevada,
Washington,
yeah.
Oregon.
And they treat Californians like Washingtonians, and we treat Washingtonians like Californians. So, and we can provide those to you and your student.
Yes. All right, yeah, I'll do this one. All right, community colleges. So this is, yeah, we have a lot of them here in the state of California. It's great. Obviously, the closest one is College of the Desert, right? There's another one. There's probably like Moreno Valley, Crafton Hills. Those are some of the other closest ones. Copper Mountain, right? The applications are usually available in the spring. I know for us at College of the Desert, it actually opens. For us, I think it opens in October. Yeah, for us, it opens in October for our students who want to go next year. No SATs required, okay? There is no application fee, no letters of recommendations, no essays, nothing. All you need is to graduate high school, and you need a pulse. That's it. You need to be alive. They don't care about your grades, GPA, none of that stuff. When you go to a community college, you start fresh. You start at a clean slate. It does not matter what your grades were in high school. You are fresh, right?
It's a really nice opportunity for some of our students who it maybe took them a little while to get it figured out. Or for some students who maybe have the GPA to go to a four-year college, but they just aren't ready. I begged my parents not to send my brother to college. Begged. And they didn't listen to me. and it took him 7 years to graduate from Cal State Fullerton, and they paid 7 years worth of tuition. He's fine now, but right, like just sometimes we're just not ready. And I think particularly after the last few years, we're just not ready. Or there's family concerns or whatever. So the community colleges offer a really nice like ramp up into formal university education because you're practicing being a full-time student, but you still get to be at home. Or maybe you travel out away from COD and you go to a community college somewhere else. That is totally an option. And it's the same thing, it's just not as like full on as the four-year universities can be.
The university or the community colleges offer you the ability to transfer to a four-year university. That's the biggest thing. So I'm not ashamed to say it. When I was in high school, I made mistakes. I barely graduated with like a 2.0 GPA. I went into the military right after, but I got my stuff together and I went to community college as an adult. And I got my stuff together. I went to Cal State Fullerton, and after that went to grad school and got my master's degree, right? And so it is possible for you to transfer to a four-year university from the community college level. Just this past summer, we had a student. She was in the same boat. She barely graduated high school, barely. In these past 2 years, she was able to get accepted to every single UC she applied, including UCLA. And she barely graduated, right? Yes, and that's because COD and every community college is a clean slate. It's a fresh start, okay? But you also have to work hard, right? All right, next one. That's what we're going to talk about right now. So this is it, Pledge. Pledge is a program that gives our students 2 years of free college tuition, okay? 2 years of free college tuition. They normally have to do a couple of things. They have to do some volunteer service. You have to make sure that you're attending every semester with a full-time load, which is about 12 units, right? Because they need that money from Fafsa in order to help pay for this program, okay? You have certificate programs, you have degree programs. All those programs qualify for the Pledge, right? So you can attend any one of those programs and get the money from Pledge to help pay for it, okay? Again, students can transfer. There are minimum requirements that are needed in order for you to transfer to university, right? It's not like I'm just going to take a couple classes and then transfer. No. It's pretty much similar like A through G here in high school, right? There's certain requirements that you have to meet in order to go to a university, right? In order to graduate A through G. It's the same exact thing at community college, right? They don't call it A through G, it's something else, right? IGETC requirements or Cal State University requirements, right? So you have to finish those requirements, and it usually requires about 60 transferable units, okay? Normal classes, general education classes, English, math, science, history, arts, humanities, all that good stuff, right? You apply to COD in December. You can apply in December. You can apply in October, but usually we have COD representatives come to the Career Center on campus for an entire week, and students get the chance to apply right then and there, okay? They come in and we do the applications together and we have a little celebration and it's all nice and fun, right? Pledge application opens in March every year. So March 1st, for those students who want to have that 2 years of free tuition, March 1st is when the application opens. It's online, it's only a Google form, that's all it is. It's very easy to fill out, okay? The important thing to know about Pledge, a lot of students think that just because they graduated from the Valley, that they get to have this 2 years of free tuition at any time. That's not the case. You have to use those 2 years immediately after you graduate. If you decide to wait a year, that you don't want to do it, for whatever the case may be, you lose out on Pledge, right? For the entire 2 years, you lose out on it, okay? You have to use it immediately after. As soon as that summer hits, every student who wants to be a part of Pledge has to do something called Summer Edge. And that Summer Edge program is what they do to prepare you for the next 2 years. You get like a little bit of classes in math and English to kind of improve your reading and your writing levels, especially at the college level. It's very different from high school level reading and writing, right? You're going to be doing a lot more writing, a lot more researching, okay? So they want to help prepare you for that. And you have to attend that summer program right after high school. If not, you will not get the 2 years of free tuition, okay?
And I do really want to touch upon this last point, that the timing matters, okay? Because here's the truth of it. COD is not paying for everyone to go to college for 2 years for free. They've gotten a lot of grant money that helps them do this. They're tapping into your federal money and your Cal Grant money first, right? And then whatever isn't covered, that's what COD covers. So the big warning that we want everyone to understand is you only get 4 years of a Cal Grant. It doesn't matter when you start them, when you get 4 years, consecutive 4 years. So that timer starts fall after your senior year, your first semester at COD. So if you fart around and don't pass the classes and you take too much time, right, and you don't get your transfer done in 2 years and you are still at COD, then you're using up your Cal Grant money, which you really need to pay for the very expensive universities, right? So it's just, we really want everyone to understand that there is a time clock here, and you can't mess around. It's very serious, all right?
And let's be honest, how many of us know of people, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, cousins, who have gone to COD and have been there for years? Right? And it happens. Do you know one of the reasons why? It's because it's free. And if it's free, or if it's low cost, is there really, are there any high stakes there for a lot of students?
And there's so many students there that sometimes you can't get into the classes you need. So that's why we're going to talk about how for some of our students, if the plan is to stay in town, then maybe go to Cal State San Bernardino at the Palm Desert campus. Because then that clock starts, but you have a better chance of getting into your classes because there's fewer students than there are at COD. So that's a nice transition to talk about the Cal States. Go Coyotes, woo! It's that's where I got my teaching credential and my master's degree from is Cal State San Bernardino, and there's no hand gesture for UC San Diego where I got my BA from, so I go with Coyotes because it's fun. So Cal State universities, there are 23 of them all over the state of California. As you can see, I was pointing out how very far away Humboldt is. So if you like trees, and you like when the trees in the mountain hit the ocean, that's the place, because that's where that happens. The requirements to get in, so it's a 2.5 minimum GPA. However, if we have students that are close to that, we do encourage them to still apply, and they will probably have a supplementary application that they have to do to explain why maybe their 2.2 or their 2.3 really isn't the best representation of who they are as a student. But for the most part, it's 2.5 minimum, and that's your A through G classes, and it's the GPA from the summer after freshman year through this last summer. So you had to have passed your freshman English class with a C or better, but the other classes you did in your freshman year don't apply to that application GPA, which I think for some students is really nice to know, because we aren't always at our best when we're ninth graders, right? It takes us a while to figure it out. No tests, no SATs, no ACTs, no personal statement, no letters of recommendation. You will be listing things you've been involved in, extracurriculars, awards, and things. And here's the thing, though. Some of the campuses and programs are impacted. Every campus has something that's impacted, and we have that list. But that's why we tell the students to look at all the majors, look at all the things that are available to you. Because if you're applying to nursing or psychology, it's impacted. I promise you. If you're applying to San Diego State or Cal State Long Beach, it's impacted. I promise you. Now, does that mean you shouldn't apply for those things? Yes, you should. You should buy that lottery ticket, right? But you should also do something called EOP. So EOP is the Educational Opportunity Program. It is a support program. I describe it, it's kind of like AVID for college. So it's extra academic guidance, it's counseling, it's support, it's tutoring. At some of the campuses, it's a stipend. It's like an extra $100 a month for the kids. And what I think is the most important is that it's priority registration, which means your student gets to pick their classes before the other students. And that's a huge advantage. But it's also a second raffle ticket into the admissions raffle, right? If their GPA isn't maybe where it needs to be, or it's a great GPA, but they want to go to Cal State Long Beach or they want to go to San Diego State, doing the EOP application gets you another ticket in that raffle. It's another shot at the application. So we do encourage all of our students who qualify to apply for it. So how do you qualify? You're first generation college student, or from an underserved minority, or there's a history of low socioeconomic status in your family.
Can I quickly define what a first-generation college student means? So a lot of students get confused of what a first-generation college student means. First-generation college student basically means that if your parent went to college or did not graduate from a four-year institution, if they went to college but didn't graduate, you're a first-generation student, right? If they didn't go to college at all, obviously, you're a first-generation student. It doesn't mean like your older brothers and sisters, if they went, you are a part of that generation. You are a part of that same generation, right? So you yourself are a first-generation college student.
Your uncle doesn't count, right? It's just your parents. So truthfully, the vast majority of Indio High School students qualify for this in some way or another. So we encourage everyone to do it. There's 6 extra questions that they have to answer, and they have to get 2 recommenders. And we go through that process with them about how do they get those recommenders. And it needs to be someone at the school. It can't be their mom, because you'll say nice things about them, right? So I just want to make sure I covered everything about the Cal. You know what? We have not paused for a second. Does anyone have questions on what we have covered so far? Awesome. We are good at our job. All right.
When you said for the college tours, is there like a number we can call or something?
Yeah, if you go onto every web, or depending on the school, if you go to that website, you can just call the admissions office and let them know that, hey, I'm interested in the campus tour, and they'll refer you over to the correct office.
Okay.
Yeah, just Google the school.
Last year I was trying, for a month, trying to get a tour for my 11th grader.
And if you just type in, let's say you wanted to go to UCI. If you just type in UCI campus tour, it'll probably take you to the actual website on UCI to make that request.
Just wondering, what private school was it that gave your debaters the full ride?
Dominican University.
And that's in like LA?
No, it's up north.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. Yeah, and then actually they sent one of them to China to teach debate in a Chinese school, and then now she just tours the world teaching debate to people. So it's very cool. I try not to take credit. All right, do you want to talk about UCs?
All right, UCs, we have 9 different campuses for the University of California, right? The requirements are a little bit higher, okay? They do require a lot more. You need a 3.0 GPA, again, from your 10th and 11th grade years. So after your freshman year, from that summer, after freshman year until this past summer, they're going to calculate that GPA from those years, okay? There's going to be 8 personal insight questions. All of your students, I believe, all of the students should have already written them out for their English classes. So that's the great thing about Indio High School is we actually have our English department make that an English assignment. So they can already fill out their personal insight questions, okay? However, some students need to refine them, right? You need to work on them still, right? And so we give the students the opportunity to send them to us, to send them to their counselors so that we can revise them and give good feedback, okay? But they only need to actually submit 4 of them, okay? So we always ask students, pick the 4 strongest one that you believe are the ones that are going to get you to the UCs, send them to us, and then we'll help you out with them, okay? They have to be written very specifically, right? It's not your normal standard academic essay, right? Like a 5-paragraph essay. It's nothing like that. It's very straightforward. It's just you using your voice to talk about your experiences. That's pretty much it.
So at the conference last week, I really liked they presented this information in a new way than they have in years past. And the kids all just call it their PIQs, right? But if you look at it, what do each of those words mean? And that should guide how your student answers them. Personal. It's got to be about you. I cannot tell you how many essays I have read in response to the question about like what subject inspires you, and a kid writes a story about their grandma. No, I don't want to know about your grandma. I want to know about you. So personal. Insight. It should tell us something about you. Not a thing you've done, but something about you, right? And that thing you've done might be, you know, a doorway to learning about you and who you are as a person. But don't just tell me you were in color guard for 4 years, right? Or, I'm sorry, don't just tell me you were a cheerleader for 4 years and you went to nationals last summer. Tell me what that meant to you, right? And what you learned being a leader on the cheer squad, right? So personal, insight, question. Answer the question. Oh my goodness, so many of these essays don't answer the question. There's like 299 words of intro fluff and then a sentence where they're like, and I like to be a leader on the soccer team. You got, so personal, insight, question. Answer the question.
Then we have activities, honors, work lists. So this is pretty much, they have a list. They have an entire section where you have to list everything that you've done, basically, right? Whether you're working, volunteering, internships, whatever. Awards, academic awards that the students have won. But you're not just listing those things. You're actually talking about them, right? If you were on the cheer team, what did you do on the cheer team? What was your position? What did you guys win? What tournaments were you a part of, right? You have to actually talk about specifically what you did in your volunteer work, at your job. If you're working at McDonald's, what are all your duties at McDonald's, right? So that's really important right there. That provides a lot of insight for the UCs, right? No SATs, again, and I'll say this happily. I feel like my first year here, I remember like 6, 7 students getting into UCI. And last year, I don't know how many got in. It was probably like 30.
That's awesome.
Yes, we had so many students get into UCs last year, and it just keeps going up ever since the SATs have been taken out, right? No letters of recommendation. No letters of recommendation for both the Cal States and both the UCs.
Unless you get an email where they ask you for one.
But that's usually like for
Engineering.
very specific
Really specific
majors.
programs are going to come back at you a second time and say, hey, we need a recommendation.
Yeah.
But you don't start the process there.
It's not very many, but yes. All campuses are competitive, so the UCs are very competitive, right? So again, we talked about the reach schools, safety schools, fit schools. You want to apply broadly, right? UCLA, there's UCLA, but then there's also UC Merced, right? Which is a great institution, but doesn't get recognized because they're out in the middle of cow country, right?
But they have a 90% acceptance
Yep.
rate.
90% to a UC. And UC Merced is actually only 15 years old and is already a top 100 school in the nation.
And that's why the acceptance rate is so high. The joke we made at the conference this year was they said, we were able to accept so many more. And we said, and we went, oh, because they added a second building. It's a little bigger than that. But it is so new, right? And so that's why the acceptance rate is so high, because they're trying to build their population.
And it's a beautiful campus, too. The city itself is beautiful. Everything is beautiful about it.
It's in the middle of nowhere.
Yes.
But it's right next to the National Forest, so if you like that kind of life, that's a good place to be.
All right. Some campuses, programs are impacted. I mean, I think they told us that technically not all, they don't call it impaction, but there's obviously, the more popular schools are obviously harder to get into, right? And that's just because so many students apply to it and they can only fill so many spots, right? UC Riverside is our service area campus, right? So if you apply to UC Riverside, you have a greater chance being a student here at Indio High School to get accepted into UC Riverside. For the Cal States, it's Cal State San Bernardino. That's our service area.
And San Marcos.
I don't think it's that anymore.
Oh.
No, I think they took it off.
Oh, they took us away.
Yeah. So San Bernardino and UC Riverside, right?
And the way I explain that to students is if Leah from San Diego applies and she has the same record as Leah from Indio gets the spot.
Yes.
Over Leah from San Diego.
Yes. All right. Application deadline is November 30th, okay? We're gonna have something called College Crush, and we're gonna announce it, and it's gonna be a big thing. It's always really fun. We all go to the Career Center. We have fun. It's a huge party. We celebrate everyone as soon as they submit their applications. It's always the week before Thanksgiving break, the entire week right there at the Career Center. So we always encourage the students to submit it that week. That way they're not waiting until the very last minute. Somebody was notorious to wait until the very last minute, I'm not gonna say who, to submit their UC applications when they were a kid.
There is photographic evidence of me submitting my UC applications the day before they were due, and I am not making a nice face. And my mother is burying her face in her hands because she's so frustrated. And this is when I had to race it down to the post office to get it, what's that called? Postmarked on time.
And I always get emails every single year on November 30th at 11:30 at night, emails from students saying, Mr. Gomez, the system is not working. I don't know what to do.
Yes, that happens every year.
I don't know what to tell you.
This is great. So prepare for there to be problems. Get it done in advance.
It happens a lot.
College Crush Week is for real our favorite week of the year. And some of them are starting the application that week. We don't encourage them. We want you to come in with some of them done. But we're up at the Career Center. Counselors, we're there till 7 o'clock at night. Now the cafeteria serves supper after school, so we're going to have food for everybody. And every single kid that submits, they get a full counselor drum roll, and the whole room stamping their feet. The offices downstairs hate us, and we celebrate every submission, and it's so much fun. And it's also, we get a lot of these done in 1 week, right? And we zip it up. Yes.
How much does each application cost?
So if you qualify for the application fee waivers, you'll get 4 of them for free. If you don't qualify for them, or if you want to apply to additional applications, it's $70 each application. Each campus, for both Cal State and UC, yes. For each campus, yes, for each campus. So it's one application. You'll list all the different schools that you're putting in there. So let's say you put 7 UCs, right? 4 of them are going to be for free. The other 3, you're going to have to pay $70 each when you submit. At the very end, it's going to ask you for a credit card, or if you want to mail in a check.
And that's why we encourage students to be very specific and targeted with their applications, because it's not free. It's not inexpensive. And I did mention those fee waivers. So the easy guideline for who got fee waivers used to be, did you qualify for free lunch? But now in the state of California, everybody gets free lunch. So you got to kind of think back to middle school. Did you get free lunch in middle school? You'll probably qualify for a fee waiver.
It's truly based, and all the applications do this, it's based off of your parents' income, the parents' income from the year 2021. So based off of the income from 2021 and how many people are in the family, right? So brothers, sisters, whoever's in the family living with you, put them in there, right? All right. Any questions on that? Anything? Yes?
For the College Crush, the times that students will be...
It's all day.
All day?
All day. So again, that's an event that most of our teachers know about. They do have to get passes to come to us. So it's not like they can just immediately just walk out of class. They have to ask their teachers. If they're doing something important, the teachers aren't going to let them out.
Right. And I do want to say that as a former teacher, we're so lucky. Our senior teachers are so accommodating of this process. But we don't ever want to be the reason why your student isn't finishing an assignment or their grade is dropping, right? Because that makes us look bad to the teachers, and then they're not as accommodating, right? That has never happened. They always understand this is an important process. But I say this to the students: make sure you are staying on top of your responsibilities, right? We're here to help you, and we want to help you, and we want to do this process with you. But it can't put your grades and your classes in jeopardy. Okay?
So Common App, that's for students who are interested in California private universities and a lot of the out-of-state schools. There is over 1,000 colleges now on Common App. It's the same thing. It works as just one system, and you can apply to multiple colleges, right? And so the great thing is about these schools is that if you were to apply to them and you qualify for fee waivers for the Common App, they'll actually give you 20 fee waivers for free. 20 if you qualify for a fee. So if you qualified for a Cal State fee waiver and a UC fee waiver, you're going to qualify for a Common App fee waiver, and you're going to get 20 schools for free. We don't encourage you to apply to 20 schools. That's just way too many. And on top of that, you're putting a lot of strain and a lot of work on your counselors, especially if you're just randomly applying to schools, because they have to actually write recommendations for you for every single one of those schools.
And we don't have the same thing where you press one button and it goes to
No.
all of them. We have to attend to every single one.
Yes.
We have to upload not just letters of recommendations, but a school profile for every single one.
And
So again, be selective in
Yes.
your application.
And don't just apply just because, oh, it's free, so I'm going to apply to 20 different schools. If you really don't care about it all that much, don't worry about it, okay? 4 is enough for the Cal States, 4 is enough for the UCs, and then maybe 1 or 2 probably from the Common App, right? Unless you really, really are interested in more schools than that. The Common App has a common application, and then the school itself, depending on which school that you're going to be applying to, has their own little questionnaire and other things, right? But the essays themselves, there's 7 different prompts. You normally have to only pick one from those 7 prompts, from those 7 essays. A lot of them are very similar to the PIQs from the UCs and from the EOP questions from the Cal States.
Work
Okay?
smarter, not harder.
Yes.
Plagiarize yourself. Absolutely. But
Don't plagiarize anyone else. Plagiarize your own essays. Listings of activities is important. Again, just like the UCs, you have to list your activities. You have to say exactly what you did in those activities. Individual colleges require supplemental information in essays, like I said before. And every deadline, you have to do your own research. Every single university does not work the same. All of them are different. Some of them have a November 30th deadline, some of them December 1st, some of them December 15th, then January and March, and some of them are year-round. All the private universities do their own thing. They don't work, they're not like a system like the Cal States and the UCs, right? So all of them have different requirements, GPA requirements, testing requirements. You have to do your own research for all of the private universities, okay? All right.
Sure. All right, trade schools. So as Mr. Gomez said earlier, trade schools are where you go to learn a very specific skill, right? Tile setting, plumbing, cosmetology, sometimes like CPA stuff, you can do that at a trade school. For them to go kind of similar to COD, you need that diploma or the equivalent, a GED. Open registration, usually it's, all year you can sign up for stuff. Programs can range from 8 months to 2 years. And I do want to say, right. So community colleges are really great resources for trade programs. Because I'll be very honest, we are always really hesitant about trade schools with our kids, because there are some that are very straightforward and very honest, and there are some that are for-profit schools that will take your money. So I think there's an institution out here that's like business training, and it's like to teach you to be a business professional, like a secretary in an office building. And I have heard horror stories of people who paid $10,000 and were taught to answer a phone, and that was all, right? So you want to be really careful of those things. But many community colleges, most community colleges also have, in addition to their degree programs, like their associate degree programs, they have certificate programs where you can go for 6 weeks to learn a specific skill. Or you can do COD has an amazing automotive program where you do 2 years and you learn, tip to tail on cars and learn those skills.
Or you can go to UTI and pay $20,000.
Right.
Right? UTI $20,000, COD free.
Milan Institute, as he mentioned, or the other one that's in Palm Desert, to do the cosmetology. It is a shame we don't have a lot of cosmetology offerings out here. However, I think COD is starting nail tech. They're starting something. However, Riverside Community College, which is an hour drive away, they have an amazing cosmetology program. So there's a lot of kids that sometimes come to us and go, I'm just going to go to SBBC and get my nursing assistant program. You can do that for less money. Right that away is the Riverside County Office of Education Medical Professional Trade School. So that's run by the Office of Education. So it's a government agency running it, so it's going to be a little more checked out, a little more, I don't know, just like trustworthy. I'm trying not to use deprecating words. But, so, oh, it's this one. Yeah, School of Career Education. So, like, we have a lot of kids who, for whatever reason, I don't understand it, want to be phlebotomists. They want to stick needles in people. I don't get it. I will pass out immediately. School of Career Education can give you that certificate in phlebotomy.
They have a dental assistant program,
Yeah.
medical assistant program, nursing assistant program.
Yeah. So trade schools, if our thing with our students is always just get some education after high school. Maybe it's a 4-year university, maybe it's a 2-year associate's degree, or maybe it's a certificate program, because we want your kids to have the opportunity to go into the job field with some preparation, so they're not starting out on the bottom rung of the ladder, okay? And these schools are eligible for Cal Grant C. So there is state money available through the financial aid applications for these programs. You don't have to pay for these out of pocket. All right. Oh, that's a very pink slide. That's big. Okay. So back to colleges. What are they looking for? We kind of talked about a lot of this. GPA, obviously. They want to see that you've taken challenging courses, right? That you took honors classes, that you took AP classes. And here's the deal. If you didn't, that's what your essays are for. You explain why you didn't challenge yourself, right? Because we all have had rough times in high school that can affect us, and I would say particularly over the last 4 years. It's been a wild ride, people. So address that. They're going to want to see that you've done extracurricular activities. They're going to look at those essays. Some of the private schools will ask your students for an interview, which we often facilitate here at the school. There might be some letters of recommendation. Work experience. So sometimes you couldn't take that AP class because you knew you had to have a job, right? And maybe your job was at McDonald's, but maybe your job was watching your little brothers and sisters while your parents were at work after school every day. That's a job. You talk about that job. You're a child care technician. You are an important part of your family's ecosystem, and it's how they work, right? You talk about that job. Or maybe you're taking care of grandma after school because grandma has memory issues and she needs you, right? You talk about that. That is work, okay? It might not be paid, but it's work. So you talk about it. Okay, special personal circumstances. Guess what special personal circumstance everyone had in the last 3 years? COVID, right? Distance learning. So we talked about this extensively at the UC conference. They don't want to see essays about how distance learning was hard for you. Because you know what? Distance learning was hard for everybody, including your teachers and counselors. And they don't want to see essays about how having COVID was hard for you. It was hard for all of us, right? What you can talk about is if you had a specific, unique occurrence that happened because of the pandemic. And I'm not saying like everyone has to write about this, but last year, the year before, there were a lot of essays about distance learning and the pandemic. They know. And one of our other counselors, not so nicely, will say they don't care. And it's not that they don't care, but they know, right? We all went through it. So if you are going to talk about your pandemic experience, it should be something unique and particularly challenging, right? And then if you've done any special academic projects, so this often applies to our students who are in some of our academies, like our lovely impact students here who are helping us tonight, or our students who, you know, raise a goat and sell it at the date festival, or students who are in Scouts and they do that Eagle Scout project and stuff like that. Those are those kind of bigger outside of school things that you do that are a learning process, okay? And those are worth talking about. They told us a story last year about a student who had like the bare minimum GPA to apply to the UCs and didn't do a lot of activities, but did this one academic project. And it was about like recycling. It was about establishing a recycling program in their city, and that kid got into Berkeley, right? That's the hardest one to get into. But it was because they did this interesting, innovative thing in their community, and Berkeley was like, yes, that's the kid we want. So those are the kinds of things you should be writing about and talking about. Oh, we talked, yeah, I'm sorry.
And we're not going to dive too deep anymore because your students are going to talk to us.
Yeah.
And we're going to tell you exactly how to do this. Okay?
So it's just a quick primer on the personal insight questions. And like I said, we already kind of talked about that. But this I do want to point out. The personal insight questions are your opportunity to put your academic record into perspective. So I was a pretty good student in high school. I got 2 C's in high school. They happened in the same year, in the same semester. After that semester, I switched high schools, right? I started out at another high school somewhere else in the valley that will remain nameless, Aztecs. And it was terrible. I had a terrible time, and I got those C's, which are like scratching the surface of what I went through. And then I changed high schools, and I came here, and I became a lifelong Rajah, right? So in my essays, I talked about that. I talked about why was that blip on my record? And so that's what the PIQs allow you to do, is to address the blips and explain them, because we all have blips, right? So the way we like to think about it is your application is the application, but the personal insight questions are your interview, right? So you get to show them who you are. And it's important that students use their own voice when they're writing. Don't pull out the thesaurus, okay? I was an English teacher. I saw this all the time, where students would use a word that was like really close to what they meant, but the tone of it was off, and it's because they right-clicked and opened the thesaurus, and they picked the longest word that they saw, right? It's so obvious. It is so obvious. And it's not you. It's not your voice. We want to hear you in the essays. I want to be able to read it and go, this is Noemi. I know that this is her. She wrote it. Okay? Whew.
Recommendations. So if somebody asks you for a recommendation, like the EOPs are going to be ask you for recommenders, certain schools may ask you for recommenders, mainly the private universities, right, and certain programs from the UCs. But not everybody. But if you do need one, we highly recommend that you get a recommender from a core teacher, a core subject teacher. So you're talking about English.
Or a teacher maybe who's known you for
Yes.
multiple years.
Yeah.
Right? These impact students, if they're not asking Mr. Jackson, they're making a mistake.
Yeah, if you were part of a pathway.
For 4 years.
If you were a part of a pathway and you stuck with the pathway, then you probably know all those pathway teachers pretty well, right? And they know you pretty well too. So it's a good idea to possibly ask one of them too. But it's somebody that you have a pretty good relationship with, right? That's what's the most important, okay? We highly recommend that you ask them via email. You can ask them in person too, but via email, because then you have like documentation that you asked for that letter of recommendation.
And when you ask for it?
Yes. Do not ask for it the day before it's due. Please, it's not going to happen. Your teachers and even your counselors are probably going to tell you no, okay? Do not ask for it the day before or 2 days before or 3 days before. We need time. We actually like personalize it for you specifically, right? So we need at least 2 weeks, 2 weeks. If you know a teacher right now, tomorrow you need to email them, right? If you need a recommendation, only if you need one, okay? And we actually have a recommender information sheet that the counselors are actually going to be telling them when they come and do their senior eval. And they show it to them, they have a link, they make a copy of it, they fill out all the detailed information, as much detail as possible, and then they give it to whoever they need a recommendation from.
Right,
Okay.
and that document, like I called out Noemi. Noemi's new to me. She's new to my caseload. I don't know a lot about her. So that document is going to help me to write a letter about her. And I tell all the students that those recommender sheets help us put the best Instagram filter on you, right? It helps us write the best we can about you and paint you in the light you want to be painted. So we need to know all those things about you so we can say meaningful things about you. So before you ask people, I would say fill out that document. And they haven't all gotten it yet, because we haven't met with all of them, but it's happening over this week and next week. They're going to meet with all of them.
And please give them a deadline, okay? Let them know, I need it, please. Ask for specifically, I would really like it by this date, right? And hopefully it's within 2 weeks, even better if it was a little bit longer, right? If for some reason they haven't gotten back to you, send them a reminder, right? Just a pleasant reminder, just, yes, asking them, about the letter of recommendation, okay? All right.
I'm sorry, where can we get the recommendation information?
They're going to give the counselors, when they do the senior evaluations for all the seniors, that's when they're going to let them know. Yeah. They're going to give them all the documents that they need to fill all this stuff out. Yeah.
So, you know what, we should have said this at the very beginning. I'm seeing people take photos, which are totally welcome to take photos of what we're doing. But this presentation will be online within the next day or two on our counseling website. And I'll link it. I'll make it a link so that everyone can download it and you can have it. Just because it might be a week or so before we get to your student, because there's 3 of us now. So it might be a week or so before we can get to your student to give them all this stuff. So that's a good one to get started on. So I'll go ahead and post it on the school website, which is very easy. It's just ihs.dsusd.us. And then you just go to the counseling page and I'll have the link for you there.
The teacher have to work at UU.
It would, it's recommended. It's basically, it depends, right? Like,
Shouldn't be your middle school teacher.
yeah.
But if you transfer.
If they just left, then yes, I would probably say it's okay, right? It doesn't have to be like they have to be working here at this very moment, but if you had built a relationship with that teacher and they were here for a couple of years and you know them and they know you, then I would say yes, it's okay. Yeah.
And conversely, we have students who, they are like me, they transfer, right? And so maybe they want to get a recommender from the school that they left, because that was someone they had a relationship with, but no middle school.
Yeah. All right. All right, just some important dates. All right, so senior evaluations are already going on right now. They already started. They're going to be going all the way up through October. October 6th is a college fair, Agua Caliente. We already talked about that.
October's next week. They're in
13th is college kickoff, like we talked about earlier. There's going to be workshops every day. We already showed you that. 26th is Cash for College night. This is a big night for us. Cash for College night is going to be here at the lecture hall, and we're going to be helping all the parents out and all the students out with filling out the FAFSA and the DREAM Act applications. Okay, so remember that date. 31st, PIQs and EOP questions are due to the counselors. So if you want us to review them, we need them by October 31st. No later than October 31st.
You share them with us electronically.
Yeah, you can just share them electronically. There you go. November 18th, your goal is to submit your applications by the Thanksgiving break. So that's College Crush Week. November 30th is the actual hard deadline for the Cal States and the UC applications. Hard deadline, okay?
And November 28th is when the system will break down. So,
Yes. December, we have scholarship portfolios. We haven't decided on when that due date is yet, but usually the scholarship portfolios is a portfolio that the students create in order to apply to local scholarships within the community, right? And I do another workshop for that, and don't worry about it. We'll get to that for all the seniors. December 7th is another Cash for College night. So we're trying to do more of these throughout the year. Before, we used to only do 2 for the entire year, but we're already doing 2 in 1 semester. And we're probably going to do a couple more for the following semester too, okay? Those are the workshops that I do that I had mentioned before. So Mondays, Common App, Tuesdays, Cal States, Wednesdays, DREAM Act, Thursdays, UCs, and we have FAFSA Fridays, okay? We also do a lot of we have a lot of college visits. So next year, we're gonna have a bunch of them. There's like UC Riverside, Cal State San Bernardino, some out-of-state schools are gonna be there, like Syracuse University, and it's a bunch of schools show up. They come talk to our students. If the student is already in the Google Classroom, if they're not in the Google Classroom, please have them join right now, and they can get all those updates. Everything that I post about workshops and things like that, college deadlines, they're all posted right here.
And read your emails.
Yes.
OMG, read your emails. I know you get a billion of them. I know you do. Read your emails. Just read your emails. Okay, I can't say it enough, and I can only say it in 1 language.
All right. We already talked about that. If you need a bus ride, like I said, we have permission slips right here. Only if you can't drive over there. If you yourself can drive or your parents can drive, then it's free. Parking's free. All that's free. But if you want to ride, you can just grab a permission slip up here, and I'll give it to you, and we'll provide a free bus for you. Okay? It is first come, first served, by the way.
Right.
Yes.
And really excellent news about this. I was at Olive Caliente this weekend for a conference. I promise. That institution has become no smoking. Not like there's a smoking section. The whole casino is no smoking now, which is really great because it used to drive me crazy that we had lines of children in the casino with the smoke. So they don't allow any smoking in that building anymore. So I just wanted to share that because I think for some people that's something that keeps you away, right? It's because the smoke is so bothersome.
Scholarships, just really quick. There's a lot of great scholarship websites. The main ones that I want to focus on are Unigo is one of my favorite ones, Unigo. There's also another one that's not on it. Well, FastWeb. I believe you guys got a brochure on there from FastWeb, that blue one right there. All you really have to do for every single one of these sites, just about every single one of them, you're creating a profile for yourself as a student. They're going to ask you questions about what grade you're in, what colleges are you interested in, what's your ethnicity, what's your religious affiliation. All those personal questions, they tailor those scholarships to you based off of your culture, your experience, or what it is that you want out of college, right? And so it's really important to create those profiles, and then they'll email you constantly every single scholarship that you qualify for, and that's coming up, that's due, right? So it's pretty easy. There's nothing crazy about the scholarships. Please read your emails.
And right? Never give anyone money.
Yes, there are some scholarship sites that ask you for money. If they do, don't.
That's a scam.
All those right there that I just listed are free completely. Okay? Right. FAFSA, we already talked about that. These are the 3 dates that we have right here if you want to take a picture of those for Cash for College Nights. October 26th, December 7th, and January 26th. It's going to be here again at the lecture hall. Okay? It is going to be, we help students regardless, English, Spanish, DREAM Act, doesn't matter.
And that night, those nights are more comfortable for some parents because some parents are uncomfortable handing their tax information to their students to bring. Some of them are not. The kids come to school with the folder from, Liberty Tax. So it's up to you, whatever makes you more comfortable. But we go through it and we help you fill it out with all the information that we need.
And if you do feel comfortable with giving them your tax information and allowing us to help the student fill it out, by all means, like my office, that's all I do pretty much like January to March is nothing but FAFSA applications and DREAM Act applications. And I sit there with the student in the computer, fill out the information right there. I finish it in 5 to 10 minutes. Pretty easy, right?
We don't sell your information.
And we don't sell your information. If you feel comfortable. If not, you can always come to one of these nights, right? You had a question over here?
What time will those be?
Same time, 6:30 to 8. Yeah,
All
6:30 to 8.
our events are usually 6:30.
Yeah, usually. Again, that's it. Any questions?
Thank you so much for coming. Good
Are you sure no questions? Nothing? Nothing else? Anything? Yes.
As a parent, if I want to get in contact with you guys because my student is so busy and, doesn't read their emails, how can I do it?
You can call the counseling office if you want to talk to us, but you can just direct us by, or get in contact with us by email. Our emails are actually on the website.
Yeah, on the
So
school website.
yeah, on the school website in the counseling section, you'll be able to click on our names and you can send an email directly that way. Yeah.
And these are our Twitter handles. We post on Twitter, we post deadlines, things, also fun stuff, like the picture I took of all of you today. I'll put that on. So yeah, I think that's it.
Anything else? All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming by.
Thanks for coming,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you.
If you need a permission slip, come on by. Only if you need one. I think that's Instagram too.